What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Coach Talk. Jerry here with two wonderful people. On my right is TJ, Coach Tortoise. How are you on this wonderful, beautiful day?
Wonderful, wonderful.
We started a Slim for Summer challenge this past week, and I know Tortoise has been hustling hard to get that ready. We have like 22 teams or so going on with that. That's like 44 people. So it's definitely busy. Sharon's helping her with that. That's on my left. Little Share Bear. Coach Sharon over here. Coach Sharon over here. How are you today?
I'm great.
Doing well?
Yep.
If you notice, Sharon got her hair cut. I know you're thinking that it looks wonderful because that's what we all thought whenever we saw it as well. Most definitely. She's been hustling hard this morning, just coming straight from coaching all morning. So busy, most definitely. Today, we have a super passionate topic that we will be talking about. Tortoise said that she's got to make sure she stays in her seat when she's talking about this one. I'm going to kick it off by telling a little story. Actually, I'm not going to tell the story. I'm just going to bring it up and it's going to pop right to your head. So Kate, my wonderful wife over here who's recording us on this side, brought this analogy to my mind this morning, and that is of the tortoise and hare. So if you know the story of the tortoise and the hare and the hare are in a race, and the tortoise ends up winning the race, which is contrary to what we tend to believe. The hare should be able to win because the hare's fast. The rabbit is running fast, and it should be able to win the race. But over the long run, which is how long the race was in the story, the tortoise ends up winning because this tortoise stays consistent, which brings me to the actual topic for today, and that is what I'm going to call IG thinking or instant gratification thinking versus 1% thinking. So instant gratification thinking, in other words, the hare trying to run and get results as fast as possible versus 1% better thinking, or the tortoise, aka building habits into your life so that you're building sustainable results into your life over time. And how our environment and our beliefs are built around instant gratification thinking and how we fail so much because of that. So, Tortoise, I'm curious what you think the beliefs are that stand in the way of people moving toward wanting to get 1% better. What are the beliefs that get in the way of, hey, you need to build habits and not trying a new diet every 6 weeks?
I think the biggest thing is that we want to see instant progress. So that helps our mind stay in. So motivation, number one, it starts right there. A lot of people will say, I have no motivation to go work out, or I have no motivation to eat well. And so we tend to think motivation is this big like power that we need. But really, motivation is an emotion, and emotions come and go. So it's normal for you to feel that way, but feeling that way makes it hard. And nobody, when something's hard, we're less apt to do it when it feels difficult. So I think that's the number one thing. And then people tend to, that I've coached, they come in and they're like, all right, I'm going to exercise 5 days a week, and I'm going to clean up my diet. I'm not going to eat any carbohydrates. I'm going to cut out the cookies I'm eating now and my daily, snack that I have in the afternoon. I'm going to cut it all out. I'm going to eat protein and vegetables, and that's it. And too big, a change like that sets you up for total failure, because at some point when we sense deprivation, which you're going to sense deprivation when you make that. You're going to be deprived of your free time to lay on the couch and watch TV, which is something you've been doing. Or you're going to be deprived of birthday cake at the next birthday party that you're going to go to. And then that leaves you feeling motivation sinks to the bottom, and you don't want to do it anymore.
Because when you start failing, then you start to think, oh, I can't make this work. I can't make this happen. I can't put exercise into my life.
Right. I failed at this. A lot of people have attempted and failed in the past. And once you build that pattern up, then each time, the minute you fail, that you caved in and drank a soft drink when you promised yourself that you wouldn't, then you feel like, oh, I've screwed up today. I might as well just quit now because I know in the past I've gone down that rabbit hole. So I think that that's a big piece of it as well.
Well, and to go along with nutrition, another thing that happens with exercise is that people jump in and they want to do the hardest form of exercise that they can. They jump into CrossFit, they jump into, even if it's something that's quote unquote basic, they get a gym membership, they go and they work out really hard in the beginning and they end up getting super sore or they end up getting injured and anything along those lines. So I don't have you seen that? What's something that kind of like, is it an easy way to kind of overcome that kind of feeling that you need to jump in real fast?
Yeah, so I see that all the time. People think that if they're not dripping in sweat, they're not super out of breath, they're not extremely sore the next day, then they didn't get a good workout, which is...
Sweatness and soreness
Yeah.
are two things that people attribute to
There's
getting
two
a good
indicators
workout.
that
And they
look for.
say if it doesn't hurt, they're not doing enough, or some variation of that. So, which is not true. And you have some people who they do that. They work out super hard their first day. We try to kind of, moderate,
Rein 'em
hold
in.
them back a little bit, but they still push and push and push. And sometimes they won't come back the next day, even though they planned on it, because they're too sore to move.
They physically can't.
Right. So that's a big one. And I think it's just because in America, especially, I think our mindset is always to improve, always to get better. If you think about technology, you take 1 week to the next and you can see how much technology has already improved in 1 week's time. So we think that everything's got to build quick and immensely, much more than it needs to. You're really going to slow your results when you do that because you're going to get too sore. You're not going to want to work out. You're going to stop working out because it hurts too bad. And it really shouldn't hurt that bad to work out. It shouldn't be this big deal where you have to lay in bed all day the next day to work out. So
I think that we tend to want to see big progress,
Right.
where a person won't notice the little things that are changing
Yeah.
in their life. So when they come in here, maybe they can't squat full range of motion their first time they come in. So they feel like, and that takes a little bit of time based on, tight hips or whatever. But if you can just focus on the small progress you're making, so your
Right.
squats getting a little bit deeper the next time you do it, or you can do one more push-up off, but our brains don't recognize those small
because
things.
it's not adding 20 pounds of weight
Right.
onto
we
you.
we tend to look for bigger change, and it's not always there. And I mean, I can't think of one person who just kind of like can start on day one, work 5 days in a row lifting weights, and not suffer some kind of ill effect at some point.
Some sort of overuse, too far,
Right.
too fast.
Right.
Whether that's just, doing too much exercise in a short period of time, or trying to go up in weights too fast, or anything along those lines. So it was interesting when I was thinking about the story of the tortoise and the hare. Most people translate the moral of that story as slow and steady wins the race. And when I think about that, slow and steady wins the race, I also think that there's a tendency on the other end to say, oh, well, if I just put things in really slowly, like I'll just walk and I'll get in shape before I get in shape, I think is what I hear a lot. I feel like the real moral of that story is not necessarily slow and steady wins the race. The real moral of the story is consistent action plus persistent effort equals lasting results. If you take the tortoise and you look, his consistent action is just taking a step forward, taking a step forward, taking a step forward. His persistent effort is constantly moving. It's just constantly moving forward. No matter what, he's always taking the next step. It doesn't matter if he sees the hare run in front of him. It doesn't matter if whatever happens, next fancy thing comes along. He's just always taking his own step forward. And that is what's really building those lasting results. You see what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah, consistency, I think, is the biggest key.
It is insanely underrated.
Yeah.
Consistency is. It is insanely underrated. And that's this whole idea of 1% better that we talk about all the time is that's consistency. You have to be consistent. You have to do your 3 to 5 days a week, whatever it is. Start with that 3 days a week and then build up to the 5 days a week. You can't just jump right in and do it, because that's when the overuse comes in. That's when your tendons start to get angry because you're doing too much too
And
fast.
exercise doesn't feel good anymore. It hurts
Right.
to try to do it, and that's going to force you to give up. I think you need to add to that. I think, you're talking about slow and steady wins the race. That's going to take longer to be that way than to go hard and fast, because once again, we want instant gratification. Slow and steady, you need a component of patience. Be patient with yourself, with the process. And like you said, I just put a post up in Slim for Summer, the Facebook group, all about this, is that all you have to do is keep putting one foot in front of the other every day. Don't try to be perfect in whatever you're attempting to do. Just be 1% better than the last time you did it. And just keep stepping, no matter what's going on. And that's where that consistency comes in. That's going to get you to the end. And be patient and allow yourself some grace, because you're going to fail. We all failed. You're never perfect. And when you fail, it's the clean slate mentality. Tomorrow's a new day. Don't throw in the towel because I failed again and I'm not going to continue to do this. I can't do this.
Yeah, I always say every minute is a new minute. Like, even
that's
people
good.
say, oh, well, I messed up at breakfast, so I'm just going to throw the whole day away. Like, why do you have to start back tomorrow? It's just
Right.
all that happens is the sun goes down and comes back up.
That's it.
Why can't you just start at the next meal?
Yeah,
So,
we say never miss twice.
Yep.
You miss a workout because something comes up in your life, then you make it a point to not miss the next one. Never miss twice. Same thing with eating meals or messing up in any way like that.
Get right back on it.
That's, yeah.
Brian Johnson from Optimize, I don't know if either of you follow him, but he says, pursuing your best self moment to moment to moment. So like you said, every minute is a new minute, moment to moment to moment, always deciding in that moment, am I being my best version of myself possible? If I messed up on this moment, the next moment I can say, okay, I need to reset. I need to get back to where I was trying to go, so that I can continue to pursue that with the understanding that it doesn't end.
Right.
No,
And I think that's what scares people.
Right. Is they think that at some point with anything, but especially like with exercise, like, you have to keep going. You can't just, I'm going to work out until I lose 10 pounds and then I'm done.
No, yeah.
You have to keep going with everything that you do.
There's no deadline.
Right.
And that's what, even eating, if you successfully lose weight, there's no deadline to that, because it's like you said, when you get to where you want to be, then it's maintenance.
Right.
And it still requires not as intense, but the same type of thought pattern, is that this is where I live now, and that's going to help me maintain my wins.
Well, and I talked about last week, I think, setting your previous best as your new baseline. So you actually just said losing weight. If you're at 180 pounds and you want to get to 150 pounds and you get there, saying, okay, this is my baseline. Now 150 is my baseline. I only go over 150 if I choose to go over 150.
Exactly.
I don't, all of a sudden I fall off the wagon and now I creep back up to 180. That's not living intentionally. That's living by, whatever whims come at you, whatever, I don't feel like working out anymore, so I'm going to fall off the wagon for another year, and then I'll come back and do it all over again.
Right. And I feel like when it comes to nutrition and that aspect, you didn't ingrain the change that you made. You did it with the mindset, this is temporary. I'm temporarily have to do this, but that's not going to keep you there, because when you get there, then you think you can never go back to how you were, ever. That's what got you to that point. So you have to put that change into your life so that it feels easy and it just becomes what you do. And that, once again, takes consistency and time. It's going to take time. So it's not, if you do it, Anybody can get up and lose 20 pounds. Anybody who has the mindset can get up and drop 20 pounds quickly by depriving themselves of everything. And then what happens when they get a party invitation or it's their birthday? And how do they celebrate that if they don't have the habit into their life to be able to do that? You know what? You have one piece of cake, then you sit and next thing you know, you've eaten half your birthday cake, and that's a slippery slope that you go back to.
So I'm curious, so if we understand that we're the types of people that feel like we need instant gratification, we feel like we need to see results, because it is important to see results. However, I believe that there are ways to pursue results without feeling like you need to jump in and do everything super fast. What do you think are some ways to do that?
So seeing results, part of it is your perception. So you could have results, kind of like Travis was saying earlier, you can have results and not realize them because maybe your squat range of motion gets better, but you're still not using any weight. Right. That's great. That's results. That's progress. So, so that's one way, is changing your perception and seeing different ways of progress versus just more weight or more reps or whatever it might be. Because you have to give your whole body time to catch up, not just your muscles. Your muscles are going to build it quicker than your nervous system and your tendons and your ligaments. So that's one way, is perception. And then I think another way is monitoring and really recording everything. Some people just go to the gym and they just work out and they think like, oh, well, I'm not seeing any results, but did you do that half-mile sprint faster than you did last time? I guess a half-mile sprint's really long. That half-mile jog faster than you did last time? Or did your workout only take 40 minutes instead of 50 minutes? Did you do more reps? You know, if you're not recording it, you don't know. You have no clue. So you might remember some things, but you're not going to remember every single weight, every single reps, how long everything took, how fast you recovered between exercises or reps or sets. So that's one of the big ways I think that people don't notice their results because they're not watching them.
Well, there's a couple things there. So awareness and measurement. You can't change what you're not aware of, and you can't manage what you don't measure. So if you're paying attention and you're writing your stuff down, which is why Travis talks about food journaling being such a big and easy way. One of the easiest ways to change your nutrition habits is writing it down. And that alone, you've seen has changed people's nutrition habits.
Definitely.
Just writing it down.
Definitely.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because if they have to, if you write it down, it makes your perception of what you're doing a reality. So if, for example, a lot of people feel like they eat plenty of vegetables, but when they write it down, the blaring place that they don't have vegetables is in breakfast, because nobody ever thinks to put vegetables in breakfast. And they'll come back to me and they'll say, wow, I really don't eat as many vegetables as I thought. Drinking water is another thing. I think it's really, really important, until water just becomes part of your life, that you record, because you might think you're drinking a lot of water. I could say I drink water every day, but if you're not writing it down and looking at how much you're drinking, you don't really know, especially if you're new to the whole thing. So, and then it gives accountability. I'll have people say, I really wanted to get up and eat potato chips last night. Number one, I didn't want to write it down because that took effort. Number two, I knew I would have to show it to someone, and then what they feel is that they failed because they gave in and had that. So
I think for me, when I have food journaled in the past, I don't do it consistently because I'm on a pretty good habit of eating well throughout the week for the most part. Right. But when I have done that, there'd be times where my food journal was in another room and I'm like, oh, I really want a piece of chocolate, but I didn't feel like going to the other room to find a pen, write it in. So just that little tiny fact alone helps. And that's not even the main reasons. That just happens to be a side effect.
And you know what that is. So what that is that our brains just want to do what we've always done. So your brain recognizes patterns of behavior, patterns very easily, and it holds on to that. So you had you maybe had something that triggered you. You had a rough day or whatever, and that you went to chocolate in the past. So whenever you had to think, where's that snapped you out of that autopilot mode where your brain likes to live, wakes up your decision maker, which is right in your prefrontal cortex, enough for you to be able to be aware that do I really want to do this?
Right.
Is this gonna get me to my goal, or is it gonna hold me back?
Yeah.
And then how many times are you doing that a week?
Probably.
Right. So it may be every night.
Probably
and
a
then
lot for most people.
You see how often it is. Those little cheats like that. That's what we tell people. They're like, well, I just had like a handful of goldfish. Did you have a handful of goldfish 3 times a day, every day? Once so writing
and
it
that's
down.
Habits. Like for most people, for me, I know I get home and usually getting home is a trigger to eat because I'm somewhere, I haven't eaten, I get home, it's time for lunch or it's time for dinner, whatever. So for me, I'll get home from eating dinner somewhere and I'll be like, all right, it's time to eat. And I'm like, wait, I just ate. So everyone has their little, like you said, the habits. Someone might typically eat a snack after lunch and they might not be hungry at all, but they eat that snack, so they want that snack. So if they have to write it down, they think first, oh, I just ate. Why am I going to eat a snack now?
Right.
So.
Environment. Oh my Lord. Environment really.
Yeah.
If you clean up your environment, it's going to help you. I could talk about this all day, but willpower. Willpower is a battery. It depletes. What you need to do, people who are very successful in making change, they're environmental designers. That's where their power is. It's not that they have more willpower than any of us, because willpower is what it is. But they design a successful environment to work in.
Willpower doesn't even confront them because they do this, they do this, they do this, blah, 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 blah. Another thing that comes to mind is, people look at people who are like uber successful, what they might deem as uber successful, and think, oh, how could you get there? I couldn't think of working that hard or being that consistent. Like writers, how can you write so much? Well, what a lot of writers say, I think it was Stephen King that said, a lot of people think that you need to be motivated or you need to be inspired to write. And Stephen King said, yeah, I write every time I'm inspired, and luckily that shows up at 9 o'clock every morning, no matter what. 9 o'clock, I'm inspired. No matter what, I show up and I have to write because it's at 9 o'clock. And that's when you look at people who are masters of anything, whether that's nutrition habit, whether that's fitness, whether that's exercise, whether that's writing, they have these things set in their life and they do them, and they show up and they do them consistently. So you talk about behavior change. BJ Fogg is like the king of habit building, and he has the ABCs of habit building. So it's anchor, behavior, celebrate. Anchor, behavior, celebrate. So the anchor is what you're talking about. It is the thing that sets you off. It's your trigger, if you will.
It's the reminder or the cue that you need.
It is. And then the next thing is the behavior. So your anchor is, or your trigger is, I walk home, I get home, I need to eat. Okay. And then he says, whenever you're trying to implement a new habit, you need to celebrate. So what's your celebration to anchor or to build that new habit into your brain so that your brain knows, oh, this is good that I do this. And he says the smallest thing that you can do, whether that's just a little fist bump saying, yes, I did that again, or patting yourself on the back. People think that it should just be so easy to be able to do these things, but it's really not. I mean, it's really not like changing habits is tough. It's hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
So the smallest thing, if you can figure out a way to just celebrate yourself whenever you do something so small and so tiny consistently. Oh, yes, look at that. I passed those potato chips up again. Good job. Like, good on me. I think is an effective way to build habit change.
Sure. Well, you know my story of when I was going through my journey. I loved M&Ms. I had to, I almost had them daily. So what I did, and I didn't do this early on because I feel you have to be to that point mentally in your head. So I put a bowl of M&Ms in the front room of my house, and it wasn't someplace that I sat all the time. So I didn't put them in my family room where I was looking at them all the time. But I knew they were there, but they weren't in my immediate environment. So every day that I had to walk to the front door to answer it, to go to the restroom, or to go upstairs to bed, I had to pass that bowl. And each time I passed that bowl, all I would do is I would be, not today. Every time I passed it, I'd look there, and that's what I would tell myself. And then at night, when I would go up to go to bed, I would say, another day I didn't give in. And, you know, I went to bed. I had that thought in my mind as I went to bed that night, and that habit disappeared over a short period of time. But I left it there for years, just as a reminder, just to reinforce the fact that I gave up that daily thing that, you know, brought me to where I was in my life before I made my change. So that it really does work to tell yourself on the inside that you did a really good job. Look in the mirror and say, you know, you got this and you did really good, because people, while you're doing those little things, they're not seeing that.
Right.
Like you're going to
Every
see it.
time you pass it up, whether you see results from it,
Right.
the second you walk past that M&M jar
Right.
or not, you're not going to, but that is your result, is passing it up.
Right.
That
Exactly.
builds.
Exactly. The scale might not be moving. You might not have lost any that week, but you have that result. And those are the little things that I think that keep you moving forward.
Yeah, those are the keys.
Most definitely. And like you said, there are two more things quickly that I want to point out that you did not today, I think is important. A lot of people, like you said, feel deprived when they're doing things, whenever they're changing, especially nutrition habits. If you just tell yourself, not today, I can do it tomorrow if I choose, but I'm not going to do it today.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm not
And
going to do it
that's
today.
easy.
I can do it
That's
tomorrow.
easy.
And then the second thing is, like you said, thinking or saying out loud. That's like me. Like, I'm the type of person that passes M&Ms up. I'm the type of person, because then that ingrains it.
I am that person. Rather than saying, I can't have these, I do not eat these, is because it defines you. It gives yourself an identity. So
Right. And you're identifying with that person
rather
that
than
you're
saying,
trying to
I
be.
want these, but I can't have them.
Well, I wanted them, but just not today. That's just
today.
what I said. Not today.
Well,
And
my
then-
little trick is I can have it on the weekend.
Right.
But on the weekend, I do so much stuff on the weekend that I don't even think about
Too
it.
busy.
Yeah.
And then I get to Monday, I'm like, dang it, I didn't eat those cookies.
You're like me. I kind of do the same thing. I'll be like, I'm making those chocolate chip cookies
Yeah.
this weekend, and then it's like Sunday night, and I'm like, now I got to wait a whole nother
Yeah,
week.
exactly.
Very nice.
So it works.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, girls, thank you so much. Well done. Remember, 1% at a time. That is what builds lasting change. Do whatever you need to do. Tell yourself that you're the type of person that passes those things up, that you're the type of person that can make that change. Build it over time. Go against the grain and don't look at the next fancy diet or the next program. Okay? You can do this. You can become a better version of yourself and achieve health and fitness mastery. Okay? Until next time.